recency bias, it is one of my favorite days of the year because if you are like us on this show, lifelong native Oregonians, sons of the beautiful Pacific Northwest, as we are on this show, you know February, March, and a good chunk of April, it gets tough. It gets tougher. Not like the harsh, cold, snowy winters of the Midwest, but it gets a little tough around here. Because we all hunker down at mid-October, right? But football is there to distract us. Football is always there to distract us. And in mid-October, and then November comes around, and man, it's getting a little blustery outside. It's getting a little, but it's like, hey, we're ready for coats. You know what I mean? Because summer kind of extends into September, and if you are, in school or you have kids in school, you're like, man, it's still summertime, but school, kind of the official end of summer. But like by the time October runs, it's like, man, I'm ready for some coats and some hoodies and to put on some warm clothes again. And so November comes around, like, man, it is getting cold and it is getting rainy. But you know what? Still football season. It's Thanksgiving. December, hey, now we're putting up Christmas lights. Basketball season starts. You got Christmas parties to go to, right? You get to Christmas, you get to New Year, and then January hits. And you're like, all right, New Year's resolution. We gotta work off the holidays. Maybe you're gonna go dry January. I don't know why anyone would, unless you have to. I support you. Not my thing. Maybe you're doing dry January. Maybe you're quitting smoking. Maybe you're trying to cut back on caffeine. And that's your distraction in January. Because you can't look ahead to the sunshine and the great weather too early because you'll go ballistic in this part of the country. Because places like in the Midwest where they actually get, springtime, where like in Chicago or in Minneapolis or in Detroit, it's like, yeah, in January it is bitter, bitter cold. But you know what? Spring's right around the corner. That Punxsutawney Phil, that liar. Like, oh, spring right around the corner. We know better that we don't get the harsh winters, but ours lasts very, very long. And so some people need some check-in to like, hey, the calendar and the weather and the globe, we're still circling the sun. A lot of people, it's spring break. Well, I don't have kids, so it's not spring break for me. A lot of people, it is spring training, like baseball. Oh, boy, there's something about just flipping on spring training and seeing those guys in Arizona and in Florida, and it's like, a little too soon. For me, the first check-in that the weather is going to be changing and that the calendar is changing, Thursday at Augusta. And it is here. It is my favorite day. It is, and even though it's going to be a little blustery there, there's a storm running through Augusta National right now. It's going to push back the first tee times. At some point, we're going to see that beautiful green grass, and we're going to see that immaculate golf course that has not a blemish on it. I've been consuming all sorts of Masters multimedia, whether that is podcasts, whether that's YouTube shows. And one of the things they say, Brenden, nobody sees weeds. There's not a weed at Augusta. They're not allowed to grow. I believe it was Justin Thomas on a podcast that said, you know what? For all the nature around Augusta, it's like never saw a squirrel because they're just not allowed. The squirrels know better. They know, like, it's Masters Week. Boys, we might be foraging in the woods in and around this place, but we don't go on the Masters because we know. No squirrels, no weeds, not an errant piece of paper, not a bit of trash, not a bit of litter, because everybody knows, as they are unbelievably lucky enough to get practice round pass, or maybe even a par 3 contest pass, or if you are super lucky or super loaded, you might get an actual pass to the actual tournament to be a patron, and you don't want to be the one to screw it up for everybody. They have managed to pull off, yes, they have Pinkerton security to make sure that nobody is sneaking onto that course. But also they have managed to pull off the crowdsourcing, right? Nobody wants to be the one to screw it all up. We've been there. I've been lucky enough and blessed enough in this career to go to many, many big sporting events, and somebody usually can have the ability to screw it up. Masters have figured it out. Peer pressure is a good thing at Augusta. You drop a napkin from your pimento cheese sandwich. More on that later on in the program. Pick it up. Find a trash receptacle. Nobody wants to be the. So this is my favorite. It's one of my favorite days on the calendar. It is Thursday at Augusta. And here we go. And much like kind of that opening day in baseball or that opening weekend in college football, even though, like, I know the likelihood of Tiger Woods, who is my favorite golfer, who I still believe, if the stars align, can find a way to win it, I know the likelihood of him, 10,000 to 1, I believe, is his odds. I think that's where he's at right now. I think he's at 10,000 to 1. I know that the likelihood of, or I think it's not 10,000 to 1. I think 1,000, like minus 10,000, which is not 10,000 to 1. I screwed that one up. To the gamblers, I'm sorry. I dabble. I get on my phone. The odds of Tiger Woods actually winning this thing, astronomical. And the fact that Tiger doesn't really play in any terms, he doesn't have to play it anymore. His world golf rankings, I think he's somewhere around 900. But that doesn't matter because on Thursday morning, before the Masters gets going, Brenden, I still believe. You know that clip of that wrestling fan, like who's like he's in like these high school bleachers and he's like, it's still real to me. That's me. I will never give up. I know that Tiger Woods has had 57 back surgeries. He had a car wreck that he nearly lost his life, nearly lost his leg. He has a reconstructed bionic leg. I still believe Tiger Woods can win.
Quick,
I still believe he can do it.
Of old Tiger, not because I generally do like Tiger. Justin, I'll say this: he was just being interviewed at the Masters. Not liking that Tiger logo over the old swoosh. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, I'm curious what was like. I would love to know how that whole thing worked out, but neither here nor there. Today, I still love him. And you know what? When May comes around and the Sunday red line is really, I might have a hoodie. I might have one. The kids call it a stan, right? I am a Tiger Woods stan. I am. I know that his time in the spotlight is past. I know that the likelihood on a bionically re-engineered leg and massive amounts of back surgeries and just father time being what he's still got that Tiger Woods stare. He's still got a chance at Augusta, in my opinion. Am I delusional? Probably. But you know what? There were years and years and years before 2019 where I was also delusional. People said, Justin, you got to get over this. Tiger Woods is never winning again. It's over. And he was getting, he was addicted to pain pills. He was going through a lot. Then 2019 comes along. He's like, yep, still got it. You know, every former baseball player, including myself, says, I got one throw left in this arm. I got one. It might be my last, but I got one left in this right arm. I still think Tiger Woods has got one 4-day at Augusta. Still with that stare, the presence, the aura around him, something magical. Can't really describe it. I still believe. Much like other things in this world that you just don't want to give up on, that's me and Tiger Woods, especially at the Masters. Everywhere else, I get it. Like he's not going to win the British. He's certainly not going to win the U.S. Open. The courses are too tough. But at Augusta, where half the battle is course knowledge, nobody knows that course better than Tiger Woods. Can the leg hold up for 4 days?
I feel like you have said this the last couple of years. This seems very reminiscent to 2023.
I do this every year.
2023, 2022, 2021, basically all the years we've been together.
Brenden, every Thursday of the Masters, I give this speech about how I love this day and how it is like the kickoff to actually better weather coming, and that I still believe in Tiger Woods. I do this every year.
Yeah, I'm like,
He made the cut last year and then had to withdraw. I was like, but I saw him. He's limping. And then he went away for a year to go get better. And now did he get better? I don't know.
Tiger would be awesome, but selfishly, I just want to see somebody new, right? So I don't want it to be Scotty Scheffler, only because he's very good.
He's so good.
But like,
so good
throw
right
me
now.
throw me a Bryson DeChambeau. I'm trying to think of some other dude.
What do you think about? Okay, so then.
Just like anybody kind of different. That's just the first name that came to mind. But just somebody who you wouldn't expect to win would be kind of cool.
But see, then there's Rory McIlroy, right?
Yeah, I'd love to see Rory win.
Rory McIlroy's up there in terms of top players in the world. Never won a green jacket.
I'd love to see
Rory
win.
It's the one that has eluded him.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I may have some financial implications on Rory McIlroy.
Okay. Did you decide to take the 1 in a million odds on Tiger too?
No, I bet Tiger to make the top 40.
Okay.
They won't let you pick the cut because I think they lost some money last year with him making the cut. Because they know, I think the books know, like, Tiger's going to scratch and claw, and he is going to make the cut. All right, more on Augusta and the Masters coming up in a bit. But Damian Martinez says the collective at Oregon State lied. The collective says we did not. Is this headed to court? Talk about that next. 620 Rip City Radio. All right, yesterday on the show, we kind of laid out the situation that's going on in Corvallis with regard to Damon Martinez blindsiding everyone in Beaver Nation, entering the transfer portal seemingly out of nowhere after months and months and months. And we talked about this yesterday. So I'll try to be as succinct as possible. But after months and months and months of I am loyal, I'm here to stay, a lot of people want to run, I don't. Out of nowhere, rumors start circulating, and then ultimately it was official with an Instagram and an X and whatever post that Damon Martinez gave the dreaded "respect my decision" post yesterday that officially told Oregon State fans and coaches and everyone in between that he is, in fact, out. He is gone. So we now have some interesting new. Well, I don't know if we have new information, but we have new allegations from both sides of this because, as I said yesterday, I said, look, if you ever want to question and wonder what is going on, it's usually follow the money, right? Occam's razor is always the most simple answer, and usually the most simple answer comes down to cash. Cold, hard cash, follow the money. And Pete Thamel threw out a figure, $400,000. This is from the Oregonian. This is Nick Daschle from the Oregonian. Even though he argued with me once on Twitter, this is his reporting. According to the Oregonian, Damien Martinez in text messages to the paper said, I want everyone to know, this is Damien Martinez, that they, the collective, did not buy me a house. I did. They did not buy me the car. I did. They did not give me $400,000. I didn't receive even $100,000 of the $400,000. Like they said, it's a business decision. All the fans saying I've got all this stuff and they gave me everything. The collective didn't give me anything. They lied. Ooh, pretty serious allegations there. By the way, welcome to college football in 2024 and beyond. Contract dispute, money disputes between collectives and players. By the way, this got to drive coaches absolutely up a wall. Got to drive coaches absolutely up a wall because coaches are obsessive about power and control, right? Control what you can control. Well, now you've got collectives in negotiations with players, and Damien Martinez said they lied. The collective didn't give me anything. Okay, well, that's not true because now I don't want to assume Damien Martinez's financial status before he came to Corvallis, but I have a hunch he wasn't going to be able to buy a house and a car without the collective. I was in college. Brenden was in college. Nobody was in a position to be buying houses and cars. Or certainly not new cars.
No.
Certainly not new cars.
This should come as no surprise, Justin, because remember 3 years ago, a house was not given to a certain quarterback who's still hippity-hopping around playing college football.
Which is interesting. More on that coming up later on from what the collective says. So Damien Martinez says, they didn't give me anything. They lied. I did not receive even $100,000 of the $400,000. That's quoted in the article, I'm assuming from a text message. So that tells me, Brenden, that the $400,000 is an accurate number, right? He said, I didn't receive $100K of the $400K. Now, the collective that we're talking about here is Damn Nation, D-A-M. That's clever. Kyle Bjornstad, is that, I want to say his name correct.
Spot on.
Kyle Bjornstad, and you know this guy, or you've talked to this guy.
I do. Kyle's a very good guy.
Kyle Bjornstad.
So I believe him, essentially, Justin.
Well, you're emotional also in this, but I'll give my thoughts on this from a non-emotional bystander, but I appreciate the emotion because it's what makes the show the show.
I mean, I look at it as I've known of Kyle for about 10 years. I've known Damien Martinez for about 3. So, you know what I mean?
What's his deal? Bjornstad, what's his deal?
Yeah, so he used to work in the athletic department after his played basketball, actually, at Oregon State.
Okay.
And was on, like, the first Craig team, went and worked the athletic department. As soon as the Damn Nation Collective launched, he shifted over there. And from what I've been told, he and Steven Jackson have largely been...
And they're the organizers.
Spearheading that thing.
So they run... He's not the money guy. He's the organizer. And the money guys come to him and go, like, hey, here's the money. I don't want to deal with all this headaches. That's why I am a businessman. You want to deal with it? And he's like, sure, I shall deal with the headaches. Probably rethinking that today. So Cal Bjornstad, co-founder of Damnation, he says, every single thing that I or the collective has said that they will do for the student athlete, we have 1,000% delivered, period. That's a fact. Now, Martinez says that his decision to leave Oregon State isn't me versus them, and insists that NIL has nothing to do with my decision. I don't believe that for a minute. But he also did not give another reason as to why he plans to transfer. That's, again, why I don't believe that for a minute. If it was about football, dude would have transferred in December. Your coach left then. Actually, coach left in November. But coach left in November. You knew the Pac-12 thing was happening. You had a full window in December. So I have a hunch it's not really true about NIL has nothing to do with the decision. So, again, from the Oregonian, Bjornstad declined to verify the dollar amount, but said that Martinez was issued a first quarter payment prior to the end of March. That's, so I'm assuming 2.5 weeks ago?
Yeah.
2.5 weeks ago, if Bjornstad's telling the truth, which I'm sure he probably has financial records to back it up. And by the way, no incentive to lie.
That does track with when I told you, Justin, we kind of spoke to Damian Martinez. He was still really happy about being in Oregon
He's got a
State.
check.
So,
So he got a check, cashed the check. Something happened in 2.5 weeks. Did he ask for more money? Was he offered more from somewhere else? We may never, ever know. So, according to the Damnation, they typically pay Oregon State athletes each quarter throughout the year. So you get a check. We talked about this yesterday, right? You don't get the big – if you got a $400,000 deal, you don't get a $400,000 check right at the beginning. Like, so do the math.
Which is smart because then it keeps the guy there for the year.
Yeah.
Right? It's like,
so if you do the math,
which payments and Hawk kind of a thing.
$400,000 quarterly, Douglas High School, public school – that's $100,000 he got paid, which is pretty good in college football. Maybe not the market rate for where he was at, but he knew that market rate back in December. Now, this is where it gets real interesting. Because remember, Damian Martinez said, they didn't buy me a car. I bought the car. Regarding the car, Bjornstad said Martinez was provided an automobile between his freshman and sophomore seasons through an endorsement deal with an automobile dealership. Months later, Martinez wanted a different car, but didn't go through the collective to make the deal. Said, we absolutely got him a car. Got him an NIL opportunity. It was a brand new car. We never promised him a second car. Never, never. That's from the collective. All right, one car is good. I'm going to need a second car, which...
That would be the orange, all-orange Dodge Challenger.
That's what he got through the
I think
dealership.
That was the second car
that he bought with his
supposedly.
NIL money.
Yeah, because
that's where he comes in and says, they didn't buy me a car. I bought the if they they gave you the NIL money, then you chose to buy the car. Like, that's semantics at this particular point.
Yeah, because that new car, remember, he posted it shortly before. It was right around, like, the Sun Bowl-ish, and that's when all Beaver fans are like, oh, haha, everyone else left, but they gave Damian Martinez the bag because here's his car.
Yes.
Right? So, clearly, a little bit of a still he said, she said.
Now, what's funny, because you mentioned previous quarterback, JT Daniels, who you're talking about. JT Daniels came in as a visit 2 years ago? Because it was spring 2 years ago, right when NIL was happening. And according to your sources and your reporting, boots on the ground down there in Corvallis, is that JT Daniels said, I need a house. Said, I need a house. And Oregon State was like, yeah, we can't do that. And so apparently he got a nice house in West Virginia.
He did.
Morgantown, I heard.
For a year, but, I heard it's on the market
now,
again.
Does he have a house in Houston also? Because he's at Rice now. So I don't know. But JT Daniels did not own a home in Corvallis, which is interesting because Bjornstad, as for the house, said, we're not in that business. Good money can be made in NIL, like, I don't know, $100,000 every quarter. You can spend it how you want it. And if he decides to go out there and get a house on his own, rent it, whatever, there were conversations about him wanting one, but never promises. Never promises ever made. Never. Bjornstad said the last time he spoke to Martinez was a few weeks ago, but added they were in constant communication about NIL opportunities. And Tuesday's news said he was completely blindsided. Martinez's agent, who's also he's says NFL agent. Don't know who he represents, but he's also an NIL agent, which is a thing that didn't exist 4 years ago. He declined to comment.
Of course he did.
Not speaking specifically about Martinez, but his experiences when seemingly loyal college athletes suddenly leave. Bjornstad said, outside influences have often become too much, which we have talked about over and over again. Here's where it's going to be interesting. Because, again, these deals, this NIL stuff, isn't this the stuff that it was supposed to be preventing? And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is what everybody wanted, was that these players were going to just basically become opportunists, which I do not blame. Get your money. You only have so many football games in your life, right? Football is the one sport where, like, you can't play once you're done. Once you're done playing football, it's over. If you have the opportunity to make some NIL money, I get it, because there's
no pickup football, Justin?
No.
Oh.
There's no old man football league. There might be, but they're stupid if they do.
We're not out there at renting out, I'm trying to think, like Lentz Park playing some flag
Could you imagine a bunch of, like,
40-year-old dudes?
Because there's 40-year-old, like, people my age still. Now, I have given up pickup basketball.
With the shape you're in, you could probably get out there.
I feel like I get one. I get one strenuous activity. My strenuous activity is working out. Is my hour at the gym. I go hard at the gym. Everything else, like pickup basketball, I'm out. I don't do, like, long runs anymore. I'm kind of done on that. Like, the old body can only handle. Could you imagine 40-year-old or even 30-year-old? You're on the cusp. You're a couple years away from 30.
Don't age me up.
It's just what it is. Hey, that's father time ticking for everybody. But I'm at, like, a bunch of dudes your age who's like, hey, yeah, we're going to play some football. Oh, awesome. I'll be there. What? Flag, two-hand tackle with helmets and shoulder pads and, like, no, thank you.
It'd be nuts.
Like, you don't play football once you're done. So, again, I understand where players are like, I need to get mine. I have this ability. This ability is able to pay me money. And that I completely understand. But I can separate the two, because then, on the other hand, like, what is good for the sport? Because in my opinion, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. You can put together all these college football players, and it's like, yeah, but that doesn't make up college football what it is. What is good ultimately for the sport? And if we're going to live in an NIL world, we're going to have to get to some transparency at some point, because this is the tip of the iceberg of a guy sticking around saying, I am loyal. Here's my car. Here's my $100,000 that I got 2.5 weeks ago. The check cleared. Thank you very much. I should like some more. And they're like, Damon, that's not the deal. This is what I assume. I assume Damian Martinez, after pledging loyalty and after cashing a couple $100,000 checks and after buying a house, and which, I mean, depending on how well, like, the market is, I mean, that might be a nice investment. I mean, you can just buy a house with cash and then rent that house to Oregon State players year after year after year. Might be a nice little investment there. But bought a house, bought a car. Now, brand new Dodge Charger, not a good investment. That thing's going to depreciate right as you drive it off the lot. That's not going to be a very good investment at all. But
you know me, Justin, I am obsessed with ROI, return on investment.
Yeah, don't buy a new car.
Yeah, no, especially not that new car. Like, if you're going to buy a new car.
You tell me the market for a now year and a half old, bright orange Dodge Charger
You'd have better
on the resale.
You'd have better luck reselling a bright orange Subaru. And I do not mean that negatively, but like you know, Justin, there are those cars.
There's
that like,
so many Subarus around here. So many.
It is
It's a thing.
It's like the most, and I hate to, but it's like, stereotype that holds up about the Pacific Northwest. We love Subarus.
Dude, it totally holds up.
Now, I
Go
hate
to any parking lot. Count the Subarus. I dare you.
Subarus.
I dare you.
But there's a lot. But yeah, anyway, neither here nor there. You're totally right.
So he went out. This is what I'm assuming. He went out and he bought this house. He bought this car. And he probably went back to Texas. And this guy is like, hey, I got these schools offering way more. You need to go back to Oregon State. And you need to tell them, because Bjornstad said, look, outside influences, right? You need to go back to Oregon State and tell them the number just got upped. And I'm sure the people at what is it again? The
Damnation.
Damnation. Thank you very much. What in damnation is going on here? Damnation is probably like, we don't have, and this is it. You knew this was it. This was the deal we cut for you. This is it. Nobody on this team is getting paid more than you.
You remember the scene, Justin, in Moneyball, where it's very beginning of the movie where Brad Pitt, Billy Bean, still trying to get, I believe it's Jason Giambi to re-sign, and the agent's playing him back and forth, and he's like, oh, I thought the offer was 6.75. The offer is $7 million. He's yours if you can do it. And he's like, you played me against each other. And who's to say now that, I don't even know if it's played against each other, because I don't know if Oregon State was like, hey, we'll give it to you, but when you walk into a meeting like that, or walk, like you said, come back with an agenda, I mean,
I'm almost like, I don't know for a fact, but I'm almost positive that's what's happening here. Now, again, if I had to get, this is pure speculation. Do we have that on the record? This is pure speculation. I don't know anything. Brenden totally knows I have no sources down in Corvallis. So I have no sources. I'm purely speculating. I would imagine Damian Martinez came back, said, hey, number just got upped. And I would imagine that Bjornstad said, well, we can certainly look to find you some other opportunities. But in terms of straight cash payment, that can't happen. And maybe that's where he thought, well, you said you were going to look for more stuff. You guys lied, and I'm out, which I think is, if you've ever gone through a breakup where you are the breaker-upper, you're not the break-up-y. If you were the breaker-upper, you will try to find something to justify your decision. And it might be the tiniest little, like, they just would never put their dishes from the sink to the dishwasher. It's like, did you ever tell them? It wasn't going to work. And it's like, okay, you just wanted to break up.
I mean, if you get fired, people try to justify that sometimes. I mean, the one time I was let go, I was like, it's them, not me. You know what I mean?
But I'm wondering, like, if you're Damian Martinez, you're like, well, no, they lied to me. And it's like, did they? Or did you create a lie as a very convenient way to get out? Because we live in a world now, and I'm going to try to make this very quickly. We live in a world now, these kids, like, they live on social media. Oh, the kids on their social media. But, like, the social media aspect of this, I think, is significant because doing it for the likes, right? And you're used to everybody praising you on social media. All of a sudden, Damian Martinez probably had a day. Of hate and anger and vitriol. It's like, no. Don't hate me. They lied. It's like, why? Give me one reason why they would lie. To destroy the credibility of a collective just trying to keep a football program and an athletic department, for that matter, head above water? What earthly reason would they have to lie unless you came back and asked for more? But at some point, we have to take this stuff. It's now gone from under the table to on top of the table, but it's got like that dome that they have at nice restaurants. We got to get this more transparent. All right, we have got Round Ball Rock NBA News and Notes coming up next, 620 Rip City Radio. By the way, that Joe Diffie tribute that the Hicks Tape guys put out, like, I love Joe Diffie. R.I.P. Miss you, Joe. But like you forget, like, hit some bangers.
Oh yeah,
Absolute bangers. I've been bumping the Joe Diffie. Like, so I listened to it and I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Then because I got the Apple Music, and I'm like, well, Joe Diffie's greatest hit, the best. I don't know if that hits with everybody in our listening audience, but makes this Winston boy real happy, real pumped up. Every time we get a little pickup man to come into the segment. All right. Blazers back in action tonight. They'll be taking on the Golden State Warriors. 3 games left in the season.
it's almost over.
It's almost done. But there's still work potentially to be done. As Brenden, I'm going to count on your math as there may be some ping pong balls up for, because that's all we're playing for at this particular point with the Warriors and then the Rockets, and have the Rockets shut down the season. And then also the last game at Sacramento, which Sacramento I think they need to win to stay above the line. Either way, NBA news and notes around the league. Let's get to Round Ball Rock. Just for fun, real quick. The Mavericks beat the Heat last night. They're wearing their Heat culture uniforms. Just saying. Just for fun.
Oh, you love that.
18 points in the fourth quarter. Heat culture. Luka went for 29, 9, and 9 in that game. All right. Other things happening around the NBA. The Bucks get a win over the Magic, a 117-99 victory. It was also reported yesterday, not surprisingly, Giannis is out for the remainder of the regular season. That, again, is not a surprise. It's the soleus part of the calf that we learned about with Dame a couple of years ago, and it's a tricky little muscle there. It's not the normal type of calf strain. It's the soleus, and it's one where you can't really put a timeline. It all depends on how the body reacts to treatment. So we'll see if Giannis is able to play in the first round. But, Brenden, you mentioned this yesterday off the air, and I think it was a really good point. This is why the Bucks went out and got Dame. Yes, to make a run at a championship, but they have got now another top 75 player of all time on their team. And if Dame and whatever with Bobby Portis and, the handful of other players there on the Bucks, Chris Middleton, who's also been an all-star, if he can't win in the first round without Giannis, that's a problem.
It's true. I think Justin.
But, this is why they went out and got Dame. So,
totally.
they may not have Giannis in the first round. Now, who are they going to be playing, right? It might be the Sixers. It might be the Heat. Maybe there's one of those teams chokes and they end up playing the Bulls or something. But likely it'll be the Sixers or the Heat is who they are going to – wait, there's no way they could play the Bulls. Never mind.
I think, Justin, we made a great point about the MVP yesterday.
Yeah, that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander should win it. Regardless, probably unanimous.
The MVP may have been won last night. Did you watch that, or did you catch that back and forth between Denver and Minnesota last night for the top spot in the West? Ooh, Jokic was cooking.
Now, look, the Thunder won last night as well.
They did.
Shai didn't have as good of a game, but he dropped in 26. He can still win it.
No, he could. No, I'm not. I'm just saying. I
have a future bet on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander winning MVP that I made at the beginning of the season.
No, that's impressive.
So not only would I have bragging rights of a pick that I made at the beginning of the season because I said Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was going to win the MVP, but I also financially put my money where my mouth was. And usually, when you make a bet in October, a future bet, and that's not going to pay off until April, you kind of forget about it. And then I went back and looked, like, oh, that's right. Still alive. Come on, Shai. Come on, buddy. But, yeah. What'd Jokic do? 41-11. Goodness gracious.
7-2.
Yeah, it was 7, but.
Yeah, I watched some. The Timberwolves are a great team, and just when the game was in doubt, like 3 possessions, just let Jokic make plays. And, I mean, they are so good. Like, them in Boston, if that happens, that's going to be a fantastic final series.
If in fact
If
it
it
does
goes
happen.
chalk.
But we talked about it Tuesday when Pounce was here. There's a lot. It's a lot of mystery, I think, in the West. By mystery, I mean, I think good teams, star power, but like, can you trust them, right? Because you look at the West, you've got the young teams in Oklahoma City and Minnesota with not any playoff. Like, Oklahoma City lost last year in the first round. But you don't have any playoff experience, really, but a lot of talent. Clippers, ton of talent, but is age going to be a factor? Dallas, other than the one run that Luka made to the Western Conference Finals, right? Luka doesn't really have a great track record, and can you count on Kyrie to be fully invested through the entire postseason? Then there's the Phoenix Suns, which does Durant and company become kind of Superman and make a run at it? So much intrigue in the West. All right, so in the next couple of minutes, the Blazers, they face the Warriors tonight. Warriors comfortably above the play-in line, but they are not. Well, I guess they could still potentially catch Sacramento to get out of that 9-10. So Golden State needs the win tonight. I don't know who's unavailable for the Blazers. I'm assuming everybody. But the Blazers might be able to fall to the worst team in the West, which that's a good thing, I guess. I hate we're talking about losses like they're wins. I just have done it for 3 years. I'm kind of sick of it. But you're saying that there is potential, Brenden, for the Spurs to leapfrog the Blazers, and the Blazers could pick up some ping pong balls in these next 3 games.
Yeah, it's possible. Charlotte, I actually learned now that regular season matchups do not have anything to do with the final standings. If they finish tied, it just flattens out the odds. So say the Spurs, Charlotte, and Portland all finish with the same record, they all have the same odds.
Now, Spurs only have 2 games left.
Yes.
They play the Nuggets. That's a loss.
They're likely to beat the Pistons, though. That's the one.
Boy,
the
that's
Hornets are.
Is that going to be one where they're like throwing it out of bounds on purpose? Last game of the year, Spurs, Pistons. Like, who wants to lose?
I mean, you're talking about like a 5% better chance at the top pick, so it's not nothing. When you have nothing left to play for, Justin, it's not nothing.
Well, Detroit is locked in.
Yeah.
They can't be.
Yeah.
They
Detroit
cannot be
and
topped.
Washington. They're both locked in.
Washington's locked in as well. Charlotte, potentially.
I doubt they're going to win. I think they have 2 pretty tough teams left.
But so if the Spurs lose to the Spurs lose to the Nuggets, but beat the Pistons and end up tied with the Blazers, that's so you pick up the Blazers pick up some percentage points.
Yeah,
given the fact that the Blazers don't just mess around and beat the Rockets tomorrow.
They could. And then all this is for naught.
Yeah. Okay. So that's as we sit right now in today's.
You think they'll beat the Warriors?
Today's edition of Tankapalooza. Well, the Warriors got to win because the Warriors are trying to catch Sacramento, which is a possibility. All right, coming up, we got hour number 2. We got Make or Miss. We got stuff we saw on the internet. More stuff on the Masters as well. Hour number 2 next, 620 Rip City Radio. It is 7 a.m. on a Thursday morning. Justin Myers with you. Portland Trailblazers return to action at Moda Center tonight. They'll be taking on the Golden State Warriors. Tip-off is set for 7 o'clock. Pre-game coverage begins at 4:30 right here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. Is one of my favorite days of the year. Thursday at Augusta's Masters will tee off starting at about half an hour. Opening tee times pushed back 2.5 hours due to storms, but I'm watching on TV right now, and the patrons are setting up their chairs. Masters opening round tees off in approximately a half an hour, and joining us in a couple of hours in the 8 o'clock hour, Steve Tannen, friend of the program, will talk all things Masters, Augusta, Live, and PGA. Are they finally over the rivalry? But hour number 2 of Rip City Mornings starts right now on 620 Rip City Radio. Hey, welcome back to Rip City Mornings, everybody. I'm your host, Justin Myers. Brendan's hanging out over there in the producer's chair. We got a Make or Miss coming up in about 20 minutes. We also have stuff we saw on the internet. Yes, yearly tradition on this program. Multiple things that happen every year here on the Thursday of the Masters. I give my absurd reasoning as to why I think Tiger Woods can still win. At least I admit it's absurd. But I give my absurd reasoning as to why I think Tiger Woods can still win. I try to wax poetic about the beauty of Augusta and how when you live in the Pacific Northwest, the Masters tournament brings hope that the sun will at some point. Sun shined yesterday, though. Beautiful day. Got a nice walk with Crash. Not in a stroller. With his 4 paws, right? I'm 10 toes down. Crash 4 paws down. Being present.
Respectfully, there isn't a carrier that could hold Crash.
I think they make some big ones.
Oh, do they?
I think,
like
I don't
wagon,
know.
I
would
probably.
never. But, yeah, Crash, big boy.
What, 56 pounds,
He's
right?
60 pounds. So he's about mid. He's about a mid-size.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He's a pit bull, so he's 60 pounds. Like, no fur, no fluff, muscle. And normally he's a good walker. But it's squirrel season. Mentioned there's no squirrels at Augusta. There's squirrels everywhere in the Woodstock neighborhood, let me tell you. And when Crash sees a squirrel, all bets are off.
I still would like to know what he would do if he saw one of the peacocks in your neighborhood.
He saw one. So we also have chickens. A lot of people have urban chickens. You know what I'm saying? Like they have the hen houses there where they get the eggs, which I get, right? I am a trying to eat as clean as possible to the point of not obsession, but I'm very close. So I understand the whole, hey, I eat eggs. I got chickens in my backyard that lay the eggs. I shall go collect them, and then I know where they come from. I get all that, but Crash not really a fan of the now, if they're in the coop, fine. But every once in a while, they let, in my neighborhood, they let the chickens roam free a little bit. Because, I live in Woodstock, okay? We got some interesting attitudes towards fences.
Why did the chicken cross the road?
Yeah, I saw one yesterday. Crash tried to end it. Actually, he didn't try to end it. He stopped, and he was like, I don't know what that is, but I don't like it. Really hates crows. Him and the crows, because we have crows in our backyard. Crash, squirrels, crows. It's a battle in our backyard. Anyways. Sun shined yesterday. The sun is going to be shining hopefully after this weather system, let's call it a system, passes through Augusta, and they'll be teeing it off coming up in about a half an hour. We haven't talked about this. This is a very big deal going on in Major League Baseball. I love baseball. Probably the sport in terms of overall strategy, probably the sport I know the most. I played baseball at a pretty decent level. Not incredibly high, but a decent level. But I understand that in this part of the country, I know there's some Mariner fans, and there are some diehard baseball fans, but we do a show for you guys, and I don't know how much baseball really hits. But the biggest story, other than Shohei Ohtani's interpreter being indicted by the feds, but the biggest story in baseball with regard to on-field play is that pitchers are popping elbows left and right. My beloved Atlanta Braves just lost Spencer Strider, likely for the season.
Really? I know that's massive.
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 But multiple pitchers, multiple Cy Young Award winners. 2023 American League Cy Young Award winner Garrett Cole, he's on the injured list, elbow trouble. 22 AL Cy Young Award winner Justin Verlander, shoulder inflammation. 2021 Cy Young Award winner Robbie Ray will miss the first half of the season. Why? Because he's coming back from Tommy John surgery. That's the elbow one. Shane Bieber, 2020. He will miss at least a year, if not more. Elbow surgery. Elbow surgery is all over the place, running rampant, and there's a lot of people talking about, like, how do we fix this? How do we fix this? I don't know if Major League Baseball or baseball in general is going to fix it. So real quick, Reader's Digest version of here's what happened if you don't know. The nerds and the scientists have taken over baseball, right? It was funny when we watched Moneyball because Brad Pitt is a charismatic fella, and what's his name? Jonah
Jonah Hill.
Jonah Hill, thank you. Jonah Hill, he seems harmless, and they came in and they did the whole Moneyball, and then what happened was over the next couple of years and decades, the nerds started pushing up their nerd glasses and their calculators and their and they took over baseball. And all the old school baseball guys, just like in the movie, did kind of get pushed out. Now, some of those old school baseball guys were a little bit ridiculous. Like, oh, I know it when I hear it. It's like, well, we need some numbers. So you had to find them. But what happened was not only the nerds came in with their nerd calculators and their pocket protectors, but also the scientists came in with their lab coats and their beakers. And they go like, hey, you guys know what spin rate is? Turns out we have the technology now to know how much the ball is spinning. That's where the whole sticky stuff came into with spider tack because people want to have spin rate. Spin rate adds velocity, a.k.a. velo, or movement. Velocity plus spin rate equals unhittable pitches. So pitchers over the last 10 years have been obsessed with velocity, throwing harder. And it makes an awful lot of sense. You throw the ball really hard, you don't hit it very much. But what they didn't think is, can the human elbow stand up to that kind of velocity, spin rate, and constant pressure on the elbow? Yes, Brenden.
Yeah, no, I think that's super spot on about Tommy John. The other thing that I've heard kind of recently, and maybe this is something that goes back to your time too, while we have gotten better with like what we allow middle schoolers and high schoolers to do, there are still workarounds where guys can pitch a lot of innings on an arm in high school. And again, I've seen it time and time again at Oregon State, where there's a guy that comes in, really talented in high school. And as it turns out, that high school coach overworked him, and he's due for Tommy John within a year or two of being at college.
And
which is perhaps connected, perhaps not.
100% connected. No, it is 100% connected, but it is more than that, and that's a great starting point because it's not just innings and pitches in a game. What you don't understand is the amount of training that is going on, and these guys are going to these pitching instructors, and they're just strapped up with all this science, technology stuff, and spin rate, spin rate, spin rate. So all of their workouts are velocity, 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 over and over and over. And so it's a constant push of how hard can you throw and how much can you make the ball spin. Well, elbows are popping at the Major League Baseball level, left and right, because it turns out the human body maybe isn't exactly prepared. So here's my hot take. The Major League pitcher is about 3 years away from becoming the NFL running back. You would have never believed it back in the 90s if I would have told you that the running back position was going to become obsolete. But what happened? People were running backs too much, overworking running backs and paying them too much. And then guess what happened? A combination of unavailability due to injury, short careers because of injury, and overpayment led to some teams going like, why would we pay one guy $17 million when we can pay three guys $3 million per, and we can get almost the same amount of productivity? My prediction for Major League Baseball is that in the future, some team somewhere is going to moneyball this all over again. I like that moneyball has kind of become a verb, but is going to moneyball this all over again and go like, wait. Why am I going to pay Shohei Ohtani $700 million. Now, I get it. He plays. Let's cut his salary in half. Why are we going to pay him $350 million when he pops his elbow and is not available to? I could pay 4 guys who are not elite level, but are Major League Baseball level. And if one guy gets hurt, so be it, unfortunately. Next guy moves in, which is essentially what has been going on in the NFL with running backs. And you might be saying, Justin, that's absurd. Pitchers are the most valuable position in all of baseball. Look at all the money that teams spend on pitching. Look at all the scout work. Look at all the draft work they do just to find the next great pitcher. Yeah. Go back to 1998 and tell me about running backs. Tell me about running backs in 1998. Tell me about Terrell Davis in 1998. When the Denver Broncos, John Elway, couldn't get over the hump. He needed a running back. You have to have a running back. You have to have a lockdown corner. Well, lockdown corner is still a thing. But running backs in the NFL are not what they were. And why? Injury and overpayment. Guess what baseball pitchers are doing? Being injured left and right, and they are being not overpaid, but their value and their numbers are really high. So think about it. Would you pay, and I love Spencer Strider, would you pay a major league pitcher, because without the salary cap, right, $30 million a year for one pitcher or $8 million a year for 4 pitchers?
Yeah, I'd have lots of pitchers, and I think pitching depth is key. And again,
they're going to become running backs.
I'm not, now again, someone like Shohei, bit of an aberration. You pay that guy, right? Even.
But how long? Because Derrick Henry's going to be the last running back to get paid, and he even got released, didn't he? He got released or traded or something.
True.
He's not on the Titans.
Yeah, and then he signed the deal with the Eagles, and that's when you said, or not the Eagles, the Ravens.
Yeah,
and you said that he wouldn't be any good.
I don't think, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So for a while, yes, there's going to be a point where I think there's going to be teams going like, none of these pitchers are going to stop throwing hard, right? Because that's how you get drafted. That's how high school kids like, hey, stop throwing hard, high school kids. Like, no, I want to get drafted. So I'm just supposed to throw easier in high school so I don't go to a Pac-12 school. Pac-12, RIP. So I don't go to a major college, so I don't get drafted, so I don't get. Teams aren't going to be paying pitchers big-time money. And maybe they are because there's always going to be teams with stupid amounts of monopoly money in baseball. But the injuries they're not going to go away, in my opinion, because guys aren't going to stop trying to throw hard, just like running backs aren't going to stop avoiding contact when they run between the tackles. The thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to get about 4 of them, and you're going to pay them about $8 million per as opposed to paying for one $35 million guy. I'm Justin Myers. This has been my Baseball TED Talk. All right, we got Make or Miss coming up on the other side next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, coming up in an hour from now, we're going to talk to Steve Tannen from 95.3 The Score, get his thoughts on the Masters. Masters, down at Augusta. Ceremonial drives, ceremonial tee shots. We got Tom Watson, you got Gary Player, and you've got, of course, the Golden Bear, Jack Nicklaus. It's happening. Here we go. It is Masters Thursday. I think Tiger's teeing off. I don't know if his tee time got disrupted due to the storms. I think Tiger's teeing off. He's playing with Max Homa and one other person at around 10:30 our time. So, Brenden, I shall not be bothered. Really going to affect my time at the gym because I usually go to the gym at 11. But Tiger's playing. It's a toss up.
I won't tell if you don't go if you don't, but you might not be able to lie to yourself. You know what I mean?
That's very true. Very true. Can't lie to yourself. So, Steve,
you don't go on like Saturdays and Sundays, right?
No,
It's a Monday through Friday.
I go on Saturdays.
Oh, do you?
Yeah,
okay, interesting. I never knew that. It was a Monday through Friday thing.
It's a sickness. It's a problem.
I don't think it's a bad sickness by any means.
Like,
as
okay,
someone
so not
who
that
can't find the motivation.
Not that anybody cares, but like on like Saturday coming up this weekend, it's going to be beautiful, and I got some yard work to do. So if I'm going to be doing some like actual like manual labor, I'll take a day off from the gym because I got some dirt to move. But not that anybody cares. But yeah, most days I put in about 6 days a week. Anywho, Steve Tannen, he's going to be joining us in an hour. We got stuff we saw on the internet coming up a little bit later. We're going to go over the Masters menu, both John Rahm's and the concession stand. New items at the Masters.
Need to locate John Rahm's menu, but I saw the concession stand and it looks quite good, Justin.
All right, so we'll dive into that stuff we saw on the internet coming up. But right now, let's get to Make or Miss.
All right, we're starting off Make or Miss a little petty this morning, Justin, and not where you think either. This one
Interesting.
This one will surprise you. Nice to know the Blazers helped facilitate a max extension for Drew Holiday.
Yeah, how about that, Drew Holiday?
Pretty good, nice. And what did we get?
Okay,
let's reevaluate this, Justin.
How do the Celtics pay for all these guys? Are they going to be second apron guys is going all in? Because obviously Jason Tatum is on a max deal. Jaylen Brown is he on a max deal? Jaylen Brown?
Jason Tatum is on like
not the super max, but he's on the max.
Yes,
right?
But like Jaylen Brown makes like $10 million more than him right now. So like it's like
Jaylen Brown makes $10 million more than Jason Tatum.
That he will next year when his super max kicks in. So
okay,
Jason
that's
Tatum
definitely going to change.
Hasn't signed the super max yet.
He will.
Yeah,
So the Celtics, like, they need to win it this year because they're going to have to choose, right, at some point.
Can run it back next year before they have any financial problems.
Okay.
Yeah, they got a couple years of a window here.
Okay, but
they have so much money committed long term, though. It's insane.
They're also the best team in basketball. Money well spent. But let's see what happens in the playoffs. Okay, so in the NBA, though, Brenden, there's two types of financial trouble, though, right? There is nuts and bolts, second apron, luxury tax, salary cap, at like financial trouble, right? Then there is how long does Jason Tatum let Jaylen Brown make $10 million more than him? Do you know what I mean? Like, that's another part of financial trouble in the NBA where usually, like, rising tide lifts all the boats and everybody wants everybody to get as much money as possible. But if you're Jason Tatum, how does that sit with you? The $10 million discrepancy between the two. Maybe I'm being I'm not being fair to Jason Tatum. I don't know the man clearly, but I know in the NBA that's
something they care about. And I think as soon as I believe it's not next year, but the year after, Tatum has a player option, so they will negotiate a big old extension.
He's going to get paid so much money,
and very much like we look at it now and go, Dame and Giannis make exactly the same amount of money, right? So that's what I would expect to happen. Those guys like each other, right? It's a good culture.
So, like, the salary cap, though, I think is going to go up, though, isn't it? Because they're doing a new media rights deal. And then ultimately, I think I saw that the NBA salary cap might be going up. If it does, Jason Tatum's going to be the highest paid player in the league, right? Once his Supermax kicks in?
Yes, because Jokic has already signed a Supermax.
Mm-hmm. Steph's already signed.
Yeah, like, eventually, like, actually, no, like, Anthony Edwards already has his ready to go. Like, I think so. Like, it took Dame and Curry until like their third contracts to get there.
Yeah.
So maybe it takes those younger guys a little bit. But like Jokic will probably sign one more really big contract, right?
Just stupid money going around right now.
But like, for instance, Justin, you asked, the Celtics have $185 million in payroll. Portland Trailblazers have 160. So it's just like pulling out another 25 mil.
Speaking of NBA and NBA money, did you see the ongoing soap opera that's going on with the Minnesota Timberwolves? And that one of the things that is it Glenn Taylor, the guy that used to own them?
Well, still does, actually.
Still does.
Yeah, good old Glenn.
But apparently one of the things that led to the impasse was that new guy Jeffrey Lurie and Alex Rodriguez presented their finances to the league and also kind of presented their financial plan. And they planned to cut to get below the luxury tax because Jeffrey Lurie he's a hedge fund guy, right? So
started off, well,
I don't know if it was
like he started. Like,
he's a financial guy.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Like he started diapers.com, sold it to Walmart for $3 billion. Like he's just an entrepreneur.
He's an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
But an entrepreneur that knows that we're not going to get a ROI if we keep spending all this money, especially in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Cut. Why are we paying Rudy Gobert this much money? And I don't know if it was Rudy Gobert, but I'm sure he probably was the number. And I saw that was one of the things that, like, because Glenn Taylor, correct me if I'm wrong, he's kind of a beloved guy there in Minnesota.
Yes.
He's been a guy that, like, the fans care about him and he cares about the fans. It's a interesting relationship. It'd be nice. But, like,
what a concept.
To where he like, truly was like, whoa, I'm selling this and you guys are going to cut. This isn't going to be good.
We're finally having success.
Yeah. What are you doing? And that seemed to be one of the things why he's now playing the I didn't get my money in time card.
But no, Minnesota's going to be in trouble next year because they've got not one, not two, not three. Well, 3 players on max deals and a 4th player on a near max. It's going to be tough because you've got Rudy Gobert making a ton of money, Karl Anthony Towns making a ton of money, and Anthony Edwards off that rookie deal.
I know that the devil is always in the details, and I understand that there is nuance to this that I do not comprehend. I do not comprehend. But can I tell you, like, how frustrating it is as a Blazer fan, not just this year, because obviously we know where the season is and everything else, but for years and years and years to be told that the money's not there. We can't spend the money's not there. And then but wait, that got Celtics, Warriors, Suns, Clippers. How are they paying all these guys? And I know there's nuance, and like I said, there's bird rights and early bird rights, which aren't even close to the same thing. One means Larry Bird, one means early bird, and they probably should have came up with a different name, right? And and then there's exceptions and taxpayer exceptions. And I get it. I don't get it, but I understand that it is complex and nuanced. But as just an average Justin fan, it's so frustrating to be like, well, we can't really go get guys because, remember the 2016 extensions that were like the albatross around this? Like, well, everybody's paying everybody.
Well,
why is it that for this team it doesn't matter? And I'm sure there's probably a actual logical explanation. But can I just express my frustration when I see these teams paying everybody? And it's like,
well,
what happened?
It's frustrating when you look at the Blazers and even though it's an estate's money still has them in the top 5 of richest NBA owners, right? Yeah. So you don't have more than Steve Ballmer, depending on how the housing market is. You don't have more than Dan Gilbert, who owns Cleveland, depending on how.
Dan Gilbert, he's the Quicken Loans guy?
Yeah. So it depends on how mortgages are, right? Mortgage crisis, probably a little broker. Mortgage, like right now, he probably
I
doing real
remember
well.
when I saw the movie The Big Short.
Yeah, great
Right?
movie.
I watched The Big Short, and I realized it's a movie. It's not a historical it's not a documentary. It's for entertainment. But I watched that, and then I saw hey, Quicken Loans with a rocket mortgage as fast, and I'm like, didn't we learn in the movie that's bad? Like, we should be maybe taking a little more time with these, but
yeah,
hasn't really
mortgages
hurt us
have been
yet.
They've been a little bit more under lock and key since
Also, that being said, if Rocket Mortgage or Quicken Loans or any of them want to
sponsor this,
be part of this program, we welcome.
We'd call it the Quicken Mortgage, Rip City Mornings. But no, back to the original OG part of this question.
Oh yeah,
Justin.
let's do that. Back to the Celtics just get to pay everybody.
Yeah, I want to get back to Jrue Holiday, and it's been almost 9 months since the trade.
Mm-hmm.
I want to take stock and see what you think now of the Jrue Holiday trade.
But so this is why the Blazers had to trade him, right? Because they couldn't pay him this.
They wouldn't.
And wouldn't pay him this.
Yes.
And he doesn't also fit the timeline and everything else. So understood. So in the return, you got Malcolm Brogdon, who jury's still out.
Yeah, we'll see what the value turns out to be there.
Does he get traded this summer? Does he come back as a backup point guard? Does he come back as a starting point guard?
Yeah, who knows, right?
Really good starting point guard when his elbow's not hurt.
All great questions. Robert Williams.
So that is TBD.
Yep.
I think Robert Williams was a good move. Obviously, I think it was a convenient knee injury because he had been battling this knee injury for a couple of years. And the Blazers were like, if you want to take a year off, get that knee fixed, win, right? So I think Robert Williams, I still think that is a plus in this because the Blazers need front court and all that. And then
first-round pick from the Warriors this year.
But wait, who the other guy that they got from the Celtics?
Those were the only. The Banton trade was later. It was a separate side deal. Yeah,
I knew.
Yep, you're right about Delano, but separate side deal. I believe they sent them a pick and cash considerations or something like that.
It is funny to watch. I was at the Blazer game, sitting in front row the other day. No big deal. I'm going to go to the Blazer game tomorrow night, taking my wife on a date. We're going date night.
That's the one I was thinking.
Date night for the Blazers tomorrow night. So I'm taking Kelly and I are going out on a date for the Blazer game tomorrow night. But watching, and again, as a fan, the tanking is like, oh my goodness. But seeing guys like Delano Banton, who clearly was going to be at best the 12th man for the Celtics and never, ever, ever play, to see him just this tanking thing ain't so bad because I get out on the court in an NBA game. You can see it in their eyes. I don't know. It was just an interesting observation I had because I could tell what they looked like because I was up so close. No big deal.
It's pretty. Do you have the same seats for?
No.
Oh, gotcha.
Those were the seats that I sat in.
Were they pounce seats, man?
No, they were not.
He's always courtside.
He's got his connections. It's the end of the season. It's a Tuesday night. My buddy knows somebody, and they were like, you want them? Once in a lifetime. Never going to sit there ever again. Never going to happen again. So I went out on a Tuesday night because you know me, Brenden. I don't go out on school nights.
No.
I went out on a Tuesday night. Because it's when am I ever going to sit courtside? Never.
So those were the two players off that. You got the first-round pick from the Warriors via the Celtics. That's been handed over about 8 different times, but that pick's probably going to be about 12 or 13 in this draft. And unlike a couple years ago, Justin.
You think
Sorry, go ahead.
So, dumb question.
Dumb questions.
Yeah,
Justin.
real
there
dumb.
Are no dumb
a question
questions.
I should know the answer to as a host of a sports talk show in this city. Dumb question. Right now, currently, the Warriors are sitting 10th in the West. If the Warriors win the play-in and then win again and make the playoffs, does that affect the draft or does it freeze does the draft order stop does the play-in affect the lottery?
Yes.
Okay.
And only because the losers.
I thought so.
The losers don't. The losers hang in the lottery. So 9 and 10 hang in the lottery.
Let's because this could be a potential real scenario, right?
Yeah.
Old system, the Sacramento Kings, who are currently 8th, would not be in the lottery.
Correct.
If the Warriors beat the Lakers, then the Kings lose to the Suns. Suns become 7 seed. Warriors beat Kings. Kings go to the lottery?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So it is basically like
I thought so, but in my head I was like,
because remember that's what happened with us a couple years ago when we were promised 2
that's
first-round
right,
picks.
the Pelicans and CJ kicked us
So
right in the jump.
This time, Joe Cronin and company are like, no.
And didn't Paul George get COVID?
Yes, and
Like,
yeah,
like,
that was like the
was Paul George the last guy to get
yes,
COVID?
It was the last
like
time.
Rudy Gobert was the first.
Yeah,
shut the world
Paul
down.
George was the last, and they
Blazers need Paul George. And I don't know if this is maybe still mad about the Dame shot or whatever, but all of a sudden out of nowhere, Paul George, like last guy to get COVID.
So that all to say is that pick's going to convey. We'll see ultimately where it lands, but
Yeah.
you'd like the Warriors to not go on a massive championship winning run. Let me put it that way.
All right.
So and then last but not least, Justin,
So we need the Warriors to win tonight to potentially tie the Blazers with the Spurs, but then to lose play-in.
Yes, we'd like them to lose the play-in. And then last but not least, a pick that comes out in 2029. So that's going to be really hard
That's never
to
going to come.
evaluate. But again, you look at that, you're like, huh, $128 million 4-year deal, man. Like,
I know.
the Blazers had him for a day.
For a day, but like
You know
this
what I
was
mean?
all it was a switcheroo from the jump.
But I guess when you consider all that, Justin, and you look back at like the way DA's playing now, you look at like Tumani Kamara, what he can be, all considering if they nail maybe this pick this year, if Malcolm Brogdon turns into something either on the court or as an asset and Robert Williams comes back and they start to win games. A lot of ands, ifs, or buts.
Well, I see.
Not the worst haul for Dame, right? All
Not
considering.
His age, the money owed, and the fact that he wanted out, right? Then he wanted back, and then they said, no, you said out. But
he wanted out.
Is that a story that's ever going to be told? Is anybody ever going to tell the truth about the summer of 20? The summer of 23, is that a story that's ever going to be told?
Dame will rap when he retires. He will. He'll drop a song with the whole thing, man. He will.
But I know that not all rebuilds are created equal, right? And I know that comparison is it can be a fool's errand sometimes when comparing to others, right? We all looked at the Oklahoma City rebuild and go like, that's the way to do it. But what did they get? They got a star in Shea and a budding star in Chet. Now, I think that I'm done with that Chet commercial. Chet and Shea, the What a Pro wants. I'm done with that.
It's bad. It's cringe.
Every year at the NCAA tournament, we get that one commercial that we're just like, I'm tired of it. That's the one this year. But they got a budding star in Chet. And like we talked about with Fentress, this is a stars league. Then there's the Houston Rockets rebuild, right? Which they're better. They won 39 games. They could finish the season 500, which is fine, but they don't really have any stars that I see. Then maybe who's the one? There's like the one European guy on their team
for
the Rockets.
Sengun.
That guy.
Yep.
That guy could be a star. Who knows? But as we see right now, I don't see a lot of stars.
Jalen Green's kind of a good player.
Kind of a good player, not a star, though. You know what I mean? And so, are the Blazers on that path? Because, again, I think of D.A., Robert Williams in the front court, Scoot a year better, Shaden healthy, Malcolm. That team could win 35 games.
Jeremy Grant to the 3.
Who knows, right? That team could win 35, 36, 37 games, but you're not in the playoffs. You're not competing for a championship.
It's true.
So, again, it's interesting way. All right, we got stuff we saw on the internet coming up. Oh, the Masters concession stand. It's one of my favorite discussion topics. Plus the John Rahm dinner that happened. So we'll dive into that. But before we do, I do want to tell you about Oregon's roofing, siding, windows, and bath experts, proud supporter of Operation Homefront. I, of course, am talking about DeBella. And with your budget on your mind, look, tax day is right around the corner. And when tax day comes around, you might be thinking, oh, man, got to start maybe cinching the belt a little bit, start focusing on the budget. Well, how about this? Upgrade your home to more energy efficient windows, siding, roofing, bath. You might be saving money on energy bills. Plus, if you want to potentially pay for a brand new roof with savings, federal, state incentives, how about you go with solar? That's right. Contact DeBella for details about updating your roof with solar shingles that could potentially pay for your roof with those savings. They've got all the details, plus their estimates are free, easy to schedule, convenient, time that works for you. And look, these are the big boys, right? This is the big leagues when it comes to Better Homes and Garden. Heard of them? HGTV, both of those things have featured DeBella's excellent work, plus multiple customer service accolades from Angie's List, Home Advisor, 15,000 five-star reviews on Google. So now's the perfect time to connect with DeBella. No obligation appointment for roofing, windows, siding. Oregon's expert are DeBella. All right, time to wrap up hour number 2. Again, joining us in hour number 3, Steve Tannen, friend of the program. Talk some Masters. Is the tournament now ongoing? Oh, we have actual golfers on the course. Course looks immaculate. Looks beautiful. And one of the things that we talk about each and every year with regard to the Masters is the concession stand. Now, as it was pointed out, I think we talked about this maybe yesterday. It was pointed out by one of our listeners who's very active on Twitter, Larry, pointed out that, isn't it very convenient that the one thing that the Masters seems to promote every single year is their concession stand prices? They don't talk about how expensive the tickets are,
100%.
how expensive the merch is, how expensive it is to even get there. But hey, you get a pimento cheese sandwich for like $2, and you feel like you're saving a bunch of money. But it is a rarity. It is a rarity in sports, and I've always wondered.
$1.50 for sandwiches.
Yeah, $1.50. Like
Unreal.
Now, I don't think anybody at Augusta National is going to be going broke anytime soon because of concession stand prices, and clearly their members are the upper crust in terms of financially accomplished people. That's, shall we say, like they're not hurting, right? But I've always wondered if you were like Steve Ballmer, right? Let's say you're Steve Ballmer. Steve Ballmer, what's old Stevie B's net worth, Brenden?
Just looked it up. He's well over $30-40 billion.
$30-40 billion, somewhere between $30 and $40 billion. If you were Steve Ballmer.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was off. That's I was way off. It's 120 billion. Sorry.
It's a very big difference.
Yeah, very big. I apologize.
Very big difference. All right, so Steve Ballmer, Stevie B, he's worth
he's the richest NBA owner by far.
$130 billion. He was all pumped up about the extra toilets that they're putting into the new arena. What is it? The Intuit? Isn't that what it is? The new arena?
It's Inglewood?
In Inglewood, but isn't it called the
Oh yeah, the Intuit Dome.
Intuit Dome.
Yes.
The TurboTax people?
Pretty much.
They're having a big month right now. Better download it. I've always wondered, like, clearly the Masters, like, they're the super rich, right? These are this is the secret society people, right? These are the secret handshake folks, and they can now, because they can basically charge whatever they want, because people want tickets so bad they put in for a lottery. They can charge whatever they want for tickets. The merch, from what I understand, is where they really make their money. Because, Brenden, did you know that you can't buy Masters stuff online? You can't go online and go shopping and buy you have to be there on the grounds.
Really?
Yeah. So they say, like, the merch tent makes, like, hundreds of millions of dollars in profit every single year. Just the merch tent. Because to be able to shop for anything with an official Masters logo on it, you have to be on the grounds. You have to have a ticket for the Masters. You can't just buy, like, a Masters polo online. You got to be there. And so the merch tent makes hundreds of millions of dollars. But all that being said, we always end up talking a lot about the concession stand because it is one of the biggest anomalies in major sporting events. I've been lucky enough to be at some major sporting events, and they go the opposite way, right? The Super Bowl, hey, a beer is $15. It's the Super Bowl, $22. So it's always fun to look back. So, Brenden, do you have the menu in front of you?
I sure do. I have the Masters menu, and then I have John Rahm's menu from last night. So what would you like to hear first?
Real quick, I'm going to pull this up because I went to the Blazer game Tuesday night. Went to the Blazer game on Tuesday night. I bought I bought a bag of popcorn and a Coors Light at Moda Center, where $24 what I spent on a Coors Light and a bag of popcorn, which, again, I understand going in. That's what happened. That's just what you do, right? It's the world we live in. Luckily enough, I can afford it. What could I get for $24? $24 at Augusta. So I could get about 9 pimento cheese sandwiches, right?
So they've expanded the menu a little bit this year. You've got your classics. Breakfast has now includes a couple different biscuits that are $2 and $3.
And I bet they're the best biscuits in the world.
Got like fruit, blueberry muffins, coffee's $2. Hey, that's a lot cheaper than Starbucks. Just saying.
It is.
I don't buy it.
They probably
Justin
give
does.
you a refill though.
Then you got all your sandwiches.
Yeah.
And I think they've even added a few because now you've got egg sandwich and pimento at $1.50 a pop.
Mm-hmm.
Pork barbecue and the Masters Club, $3.
Okay, so let's just say $3 each. So if I could get a barbecue sandwich, and
a club, and you're only
a club sandwich, and a pimento cheese, and an egg salad, I'm at $9.
Yes.
Okay,
not too bad.
So I have 4 sandwiches now at my disposal, and of my budget. Whereas at the Blazer game, I still have $15.
And we still got 3 sandwiches left. You can do chicken salad on honey wheat. Probably not bad. Classic ham and cheese on rye, and just classic chicken. So that's.
What do you think a classic chicken sandwich is?
Probably just like.
You think it's like a sliced?
I would imagine probably sliced more like lunch meat type of chicken, but I've never been to the Masters.
I've never either. I'd like to know.
But no, I think that's expanded because I don't remember there being quite that many number of sandwiches before. Now we get into the good stuff.
All right, so if I were to go, right, I think I would stick with the barbecue. I would go with the club. I would go pimento cheese because you got to get one.
Yeah, totally.
You got to go. And then I'd get a breakfast sandwich.
Yeah, nice.
With the sausage biscuit or something like that. So I'm at probably about $10.
Yeah.
I'm at about $10. All right, I got $14 left.
Then you get into the beverages, which again,
beers only.
The most affordable beverages.
Well, I might have one coffee.
So I'll skip by.
So it's $2 for the coffee. So now I'm at $12.
Yeah. So I'll briefly go through. Way cheaper than where soft drinks, water, iced tea, all $2.
Great. Not getting any of those.
Crow's Nest, $5. Domestic beer, $5. Import beer, $5. White wine, $6.
What was the domestic beer again?
It just says domestic. So.
Yeah, no, but what's the price?
Oh, $5. All $5, except for the wine, $6.
Okay, so
you'd crush many of those.
I would crush many of those, but in my for my at the Blazer game. So for at the Blazer game where I got 1 Coors Light, and I enjoyed it, and I got a bag of popcorn. I have now bought 4 sandwiches. I bought a cup of coffee, and I bought 2 beers.
And you still have money left, right?
And I got
so we got the snacks section. We got to get to this real quick before we run out of time, Justin.
Can't forget the snacks.
Excuse me. Chips, plain and barbecue, $1.50. Hey, chips, that seems about accurate. Peanuts, $1.50. Pretty good price for peanuts.
And plus Georgia,
boiled peanuts, man.
I don't know if they are the greatest peanuts in the world, but I would assume they are. Yep. And I think they're like the hot roasted peanuts. I would bet they are.
Whatever Southern cheese straws are.
That's just what another word for
string
cheese?
Okay.
It's got to be string cheese.
$2. Cookies, a.k.a. moon pies and other things along those lines, $1.50. And then.
Have you ever had a moon pie?
Yes.
They're pretty good.
They are. And then Justin's 2 favorites. The Georgia Peach Ice Cream Sandwich, $2.50, and the Georgia Pecan Caramel Popcorn, $1.50.
You can take the popcorn. I'm giving me the Georgia Peach. That sounds like peach cobbler in your hand.
Oh, it does. It sounds delicious.
Peach cobbler a la mode, greatest dessert of all time. You give me a peach cobbler with a scoop of ice cream on top of it, and this ice cream sandwich sounds like it is exactly that, but only handheld.
And you'll be happy they have trail mix for $1. So you'd be real happy with
I would grab about 3 of those. What a time. All right. There's also big breaking news going on in the football world. We'll talk about that. We got Steve Tannen on the show. We've got the RCA mailbag. Jam-packed hour number 3 coming up next, 620 Rip City Radio. It is 8 a.m. on a Thursday morning. Justin Myers with you. Portland Trailblazers back in action. They'll be taking on the Golden State Warriors at Moda Center tonight. Tip-off is set for 7 o'clock. Pregame coverage begins at 4:30 right here on 620 Rip City Radio. The Masters Tournament is underway at Augusta National after a 2.5-hour delay earlier this morning. Tiger Woods set to tee off in approximately 2.5 hours from now. Favorite Scotty Scheffler overwhelming odds-on favorite for the Masters this week. And breaking news, kind of in the sports world, but in the pop culture world, and we're going to talk more on this coming up on the other side. It was reported by his family, O.J. Simpson passed away after a battle with prostate cancer. His legacy and every complex thing about it we'll talk about coming up next. In 20 minutes, we'll talk to friend of the program, Steve Tannen from 95.3 The Score down in Eugene, get his thoughts on some spring football and some Masters as well. But Hour 3 starts right now on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, hey, welcome into hour number 3 of Rip City Mornings, everybody. Didn't expect to be talking about O.J. Simpson today, but breaking news, I think it came about 15 minutes ago. O.J. Simpson died at the age of 76, battled with prostate cancer. Obviously, when you talk about O.J., you talk about lots of stuff. Maybe
where to begin?
Maybe the most notorious figure in, not in all of American pop culture, but of the last 50 years in American pop culture. And I am not going to dive into the football part of this because I think once you murder 2 people, I think you kind of eliminate your football legacy being part of your obituary, right? They always talk about, hey, beware the first line of your obituary. What are they going to be talking about?
Not Hertz commercials.
Not Hertz commercials and not 2,000 yards in a season or winning the Heisman Trophy.
Movie?
He was in multiple Naked Gun movies, yeah. 33 and a third and 2.5 and the Ridge. But like this one, like I talk about legacy a lot on this show. I'm fascinated by legacy. Not my own. I try to live in the moment. But other people's like what are you going to be remembered as, right? Tiger Woods teed it up at Augusta later today. His legacy will always be known for golf. There's going to be some other stuff, right? There's the incident in, I think it was 2007, as crazy as it was, like the Thanksgiving incident. There was the injuries. There was the comeback. There's like the Tiger, the dad now. But his legacy is always going to be his generations and maybe the greatest golfer of all time. That's his legacy. Right? The Jordan legacy comes with a lot of, like, what's Jordan's legacy? Greatest basketball player of all time? Sure. Contribution to pop culture, contribution to sports marketing. I know we've been talking a ton about women's basketball and Caitlin Clark, right? With O.J. Simpson, legacy, pretty simple. Trial and murder. That's it. That's all. Very rarely, even things as complex as, say, Joe Paterno, football's still going to come up when you start talking about the Joe Paterno legacy. Now, it's more complex, more than some people than it is to others, but football is still going to come up. As nuts as it sounds, because I've been watching the Dynasty thing, Aaron Hernandez, football's still part of that legacy. Not top, because convicted murder. O.J. Simpson, timing of it, everything that went about it, the trial, the amount of time that us as a collective country were like, you could not escape it. Like, no. You know how, like, sometimes it'd be like, hey, what are your thoughts on the border crisis, right? And I was like, I don't really have an opinion. I'm not down there. That's not in my algorithm. Nobody could say that about O.J. Simpson back in 1995. So what do you think about O.J. Simpson? I have a thought. I have a take. And ultimate legacy is going to be that of someone, if you have clear eyes and fairly working brain knows like he got away with double murder. In the trial, like the actual, like we say trial of the century all the time. This was the trial of the century.
Oh, it was.
The trial of the century. I don't know because of the way that media works now with the internet and everything else, with so many things, media has become a la carte, right? When I was growing up in school, Brenden, school lunch was school lunch. You got what you got. Here you go. It's mashed potatoes and gravy day, which was a very good day. Your generation, you had a la carte. I would like a salad. Well, there's a salad bar for you. I would like pizza. Great. We have pizza every single day, which, oh boy, would have been nice. That's what media is now. I don't want to pay for all the channel. I just want this channel, this channel, this channel. I just want the Disney stuff. Great. We have that for you. Here you go. So I don't even know if we could ever, and I hope we don't, because I don't want any other legendary athlete to commit double murder and then have of us all watching their trial again. I hope that never happens. But even if it did, as spread thin as we are media-wise, I don't know if it could ever happen. But
you're talking about something that I wasn't even alive for, Justin, but something that me and many youth below me, I mean, I think like me at 28, my brother, like this is something that is so permeated in culture that like we know all about it, kind of a thing. And like I know you and I have talked about it before. One of the best things on television ever made was The People versus OJ, with Cuba Gooding Jr. playing OJ, and that whole like 10-part series.
Yeah, that and then the 30 for 30.
Yep, ESPN did a big old thing. Made OJ Made in America. That was fantastic. I mean, yeah, it's you'll never it's like Justin loves to say, explain it to aliens if they came down. Mm-hmm. This you'd be explaining for a long time.
Well, and here's what also is very, very weird, right? What is the most famous pop culture family right now in America?
Kardashian or Jenner, whichever you want to take.
And that we still are seeing the trickle-down effects
100%
of the amount of impact that the O.J. Simpson trial had on pop culture, because Robert Kardashian was put on the dream team, and then obviously he had children that had very ample backsides that
and Kris Jenner obviously dating Bruce Jenner, that was a
Bruce
part
Jenner, and then Bruce Jenner becoming Caitlyn Jenner,
yes,
and
all that. But yes, I don't know if I've asked you this before.
Yeah, the whole explain it to aliens thing. It's like
I don't know if
I've been talking for 8 minutes. I still don't even know if we scratched the surface on everything and we haven't even talked once about football, nor should we, because he's a double murderer, and that's going to be ultimately his legacy.
Right. And you think about it now, like, does that family just wipe away the OJ situation? Is that family have TV shows and media empire? Like that's when the 24-hour news cycle started, right? It's like, oh my gosh, you can turn on CNN and they got video of OJ's house at 3:00 in the morning. You know what I mean? Like, it was the birth of the 24-hour news cycle. The internet was not around, but it was like in its infancy.
Yeah, it wasn't in your pocket.
Exactly.
It wasn't even in your. It was at the library. Like, that's where the internet was. The internet was at the library. But yeah, it's kind of hard to explain, because I hate being grumpy old, not even grumpy old man, but like old man going like, you don't know, you weren't there. I was in high school. And in my high school, in the middle of the day, Brenden, we stopped school. We stopped school to watch the OJ verdict, to watch the verdict. We stopped school because obviously there were no cell phones, and it was in our lives for 3 years at that particular point, because I believe the verdict came in 1997. Are my years right? Or did I skip a year? I know, obviously, the murder and then the Bronco chase all happened in 1994, and then the summer of 94.
The trial started January 95 and got the verdict October 95.
October 95.
Yeah.
So I think it was 1997. Boy, I'm getting the years are starting to.
The Goldman civil suit was settled in 97, so that's what you're thinking.
It as well. Yes.
Yep. So again, that's also relevant today.
But it is I don't want to even say it's not even it's a complicated legacy. This ain't a complicated legacy. This was someone who was on top of the world and then participated in a heinous act that we all went on the ride with. I like true crime shows. Every once in a while, I have to go like, am I a bad person for this? Because, this is somebody's worst nightmare. But like the O.J. Simpson trial, Brenden, beginning of true crime. Hot take. Like true crime shows and podcasts as we know it, right? O.J. was if you really want to dig down deep, you could say maybe like the Kennedy assassination, because everybody had their theories on the Kennedy assassination and everything else. But in terms of actual like true crime, we were there in the courtroom watching Marcia Clark. She changed her hair halfway through. That was a big deal. The gloves didn't fit. Cato, Kalen, all the stuff that comes into it. Like,
if you don't fit,
that was the beginning, ultimately, kind of true crime.
Oh, totally.
And like you said, the Bronco chase interrupting the NBA Finals.
That would never happen now. Like,
there's so many there's so many things that happened with this whole thing that would have never, that I don't know if would ever happen, but is hard to explain. Like, wait a minute. This guy, and at that point in time, we still were like, because we didn't know the evidence, right? And so at the time, a lot of us were like, what's OJ doing running from what are the cops doing chasing OJ? His wife just died. We were thinking, poor OJ. And then oops. Ron Goldman, a guy he didn't know, his DNA ended up inside your locked Bronco. Okay, got it.
And that was the other thing that was...
Also, Ron Goldman, a person who you did not know, their blood ended up on a glove in your backyard? Clearly, it was planted by racist cops. Got it. Yeah.
And just to show how much it's changed, like your point, Justin, all that is true. But the public, a.k.a. the jury, like whether or not they wanted to or not, DNA was not something people really understood in the early. That's like,
I know.
That was brand new.
But that's, again, and
brand new.
Talk about we got the Kardashians out of that. We got true crime out of that. DNA.
That doesn't happen. You don't have
springboard DNA into trial of now, hey, we heard something and that doesn't, where's the DNA? It's we don't have it. Take a walk. All right. We're going to talk some golf. We might talk some Oregon football. I'm sure Steve has a thought or two about O.J. Simpson.
He probably does.
I don't know if we want to throw that on Steve. But Steve Tannen, friend of the program, will be joining us next. Before we get to Steve, though, I do want to tell you about Oregon's roofing, siding, windows, bath experts. I'm talking about DeBella. I talk about them often. Why? Because they've got 15,000 plus 5-star reviews on Google, all for their excellent work. I talk about them often. Why? Because in 2024, they're offering you no payments until 2025 on approved credit. That's right. You want to save some money on your energy bills? How about solar shingles? Could potentially pay for a brand new roof. And the entire time, are you paying for that roof? No. No payments until 2025. And you're collecting savings on your energy bill and federal and state incentives. Contact DeBella today for all the details. Contact them for a free, no obligation, and convenient estimate. They are your Oregon roofing, siding, windows, and bath experts. Proud supporter of Operation Homefront. They are DeBella. All right, I understand like breaking news. It's kind of tough. Very very rarely you get like like the impromptu speeches in speech class where like here's the topic and the fine folks who do the updates nationally, they got a lot of updates to do. But I don't know if you heard the phrasing that Fox Sports just put out there. Football great O.J. Simpson dies according to his family at 76. And that's it? That's all you bring up? Wait a minute. Wasn't there another thing that went alongside that? Joining us, look, hey, breaking news is hard. Maybe that's what just was thrown in front of the poor broadcasters. We've all been there. We read it like Ron Burgundy, but football great O.J. Simpson dies. There was another part of that I remember. Joining us now, friend of the program, my old partner from 95.3 The Score in Eugene. We're supposed to talk about the Masters, but obviously one of the biggest pop culture figures, infamous pop culture figures, O.J. Simpson just died. Steve Tannen back on the big show. Good morning, Steve. How we doing?
Yeah, you and me talking about the Masters on the day OJ dies, a tradition like no other.
Exactly right. So real quick, because as I mentioned, the breaking news with O.J. Simpson, and I don't want to spend too much time on this because, again, the guy killed 2 people, got away with it, and then spent the remaining time in his life, instead of being contrite, throwing it in everybody's face. I don't know a lot of I'm not shedding an awful lot of tears today, but just from a pop culture and everybody, like, know where you were at the time moment, Bronco chase, trial, verdict, all of, like, very rarely do you get one know where you were moment. He had like 4, and just in terms of in the mid 90s, like it's like I tried to explain to young Brenden, who wasn't with us at the time, just what it was, and it's kind of hard to even explain it.
How about Jay Leno's show? Dancing Judge Ito's
Dancing
coming
Ito's.
out almost on a nightly basis. You know, Justin, everything is relative. We're all products of our environment. So for my generation, he was really the first college football player. And I'm not saying that just because it's today. It was 1968. The coverage wasn't that great. And he was the best player, the most spectacular player on the number 1 team, tailback U, and just the path through the NFL, getting traded to the Bills, who played in the Jets division, seeing him in person in 74, 5, 6, 7, his career after, a broadcaster who worked with Costas and Marv Albert and with the Monday Night Football crew and did blockbuster movies, to fast forward June 17th, 1994, the Bronco chase. Right before Game 5 of the 94 finals, I had waited 21 years for the Knicks to make the finals. And it's like, oh, my God, O.J. Simpson killed his wife and her friend. It's like, you get the story, if you made it up in Hollywood, the producer at the major theater company would have been like, oh, come on, that's not even realistic.
Unbelievable. So that's kind of obviously the big news that has been going on the last couple of minutes. But I do want to awkwardly shift to what I wanted to talk to you about, which is, again, I don't know about you. Today, Steve, is one of my favorite days. Maybe not the best day on the sports calendar, but it is top 5, if anything, for a multitude of reasons. One, I love the Masters. The Masters is my favorite golf tournament, and it's not really a close second. Also, being in the Pacific Northwest, this is kind of our rite of spring, right? I know some people feel this way about spring training in baseball, when you see kind of the boys out there playing in Arizona. For me, seeing the beautiful green grass and the blue skies, now that the weather's cleared in Augusta, at Augusta, is kind of like the hope for me that, oh yeah, the sun is going to come back at some point in our lives, on top of the fact that I absolutely love the Masters. It's my favorite. One day I will be at Augusta and I will watch part of this tournament, even if it's a practice round. It will happen. I don't know how or why I'm going to get there, but it's going to happen. Where are you with today's date on the sports calendar for you?
Well, first of all, you ask any golfer who, if you know, from the days when your parents dropped you off to play golf to when you're hooked up with your buddies, when you're on the putting green waiting for your tee time and you line up the 15-footer, it's not for the Valero Open or even the U.S. Open. It's for the Masters. It is the biggest golf tournament. Maybe not in the world if you get to other parts in Europe or South America, but for Americans, it's the ultimate. And I love the Masters and the majors like I love the NCAA tournament because it's like you wake up Thursday and Friday and it's like, wait, there's action all day long to kind of distract you from the work week. And like you said, it is the azaleas and the magnolias and the hope of spring and the tradition and, the call of Vern Lundquist in '86 with maybe, yes, sir, and Tiger's chip on the par 3 in 2005 to beat DeMarco. I mean, I joke about it, but there really is nothing else like it.
Steve Tannen from 95.3 The Score in Eugene joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, let's have this discussion. Steve, I'm not ready to let Tiger go yet. I'm not ready. All right. This is a personal thing with me. I know I think he's plus 10,000, I think, on the latest odds. He's ranked around 900 or something in the world. He took a year off after making the cut last year to once again try to get his body back. We do this each and every year. I feel, even though it's not quite Lucy in the football with Charlie Brown, Steve, because in 2019 we got to kick the football once and just made us believe over and over again that that's still the same guy. I'm not ready to let Tiger go just quite yet. I understand the reality of him winning this thing ever again is probably not there. I do like the fact that he's back and hopefully he'll be able to compete and hopefully finish in the top 40 because I got some money on it. But As a Tiger Woods fanatic as I am, I'm not ready to give him up. It is kind of tough, though, to watch when you see a guy of his greatness he's slowly kind of becoming more of an ambassador of the game than the killer out there on the golf course that we've known that we knew for 20 some years.
Yeah, he's 49 now because of the car accident. I don't know that he's ever going to be 100%, but I've said a million times, if he just gets to a point where, okay, this is his health now, and he's actually playing golf regularly, he, like Jack, like Couples, will contend at Augusta National again. He knows that course like nobody else right now, the contours, the undulations, where to place the ball on the drive, when to hit a driver, when to hit an iron. His chipping at there has always been a step above what he's normally been. He knows how to putt. And yes, Justin, when it comes to logic and reason, there's no way to look at him contending this week. But something you'll understand, the conversation between Kramer and Costanza, you got to listen to the little man in your head. And George says, that little man's an idiot. There's a part in my head that thinks, well, Tiger's teeing it up at Augusta National. Maybe, and I know it's criminally insane, but I can't get that voice out of my head.
I can't either. It's funny because I had a whole thing early this morning about how I can talk myself into Tiger Woods this week, and Brenden said, didn't we have this conversation last year and the year before? And I said, yeah, that's the second tradition, unlike any other, is Justin goes on the radio and talks himself into Tiger Woods potentially winning the Masters again. But there is, I'm with you, again, criminally insane. Course knowledge, which we have talked about a ton, is a bigger factor in this tournament as opposed to any other. And then the other thing is, Steve, those guys that he's going to be playing against, they're still in awe of him. There's he's not in contention. The Tiger aura doesn't really kind of have a factor, but we saw it in 2019, right, where the guys in contention in 20, like Tiger's got the lead. Water. They all melted down because that's still Tiger over there. He's got to get to Sunday, but if he does, you might see a couple of guys not quite play as sharp because they're like, oh, great, here comes Tiger again. That's still, I think, a factor, at least as we sit here, 8:28 on a Thursday.
Yeah, and it's part of the history. I mean, how many times have we watched Jack on the back nine in '86? Yeah, he was brilliant. Ballesteros in the water. Kite, out of bounds 3 putts. Greg Norman, of course, choked. And it's just like when you hear that roar at Augusta National, you know, if it's for other players, it's like, yeah, we're golf fans. But back then, if it was Jack, and if you hear a roar and it's like, well, what's happening? Tiger just made an eagle. You know, guys are like, oh, man, you got to be kidding me.
Steve Tannen from 95.3 The Score joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, let's talk about guys that actually do have a chance to win this. Right now, the best golfer in the world is Scottie Scheffler. He is an overwhelming odds-on favorite. He has been playing lights-out golf in the early parts of this. I don't know if the whole the pregnant wife thing, because I know he said he'd leave, but I guess they said, like, it probably isn't going to happen, but that would – could you imagine? Now, Scottie Scheffler does have a green jacket, and this is his first child, so he has more green jackets than children right now. But could you imagine, Steve, Sunday morning, Scheffler's up by about 3. He gets the word, like, nope, it's go time. Wife's in labor. We got to go. Like, could you ever imagine walking off of Augusta? And listen, I don't have children. I'm sure it is a personal choice for any parent, but could you imagine having the lead at Augusta on Sunday and all of a sudden you got the word?
How about we fast forward? He has a son, and 10, 12 years from now, he walked off on the lead, and the kid comes home from school one day in tears and goes, "What did you do to me?" Just the devastation. I'm never going to live that down. I don't know how realistic that is. I mean, it's a 5-hour round. We get private jets, but you know, I read an astonishing fact about Scheffler from last year because, as you know, sure, driving at Augusta is important, but it's a shorter course. The par fives are reachable in 2. He was number 1 in greens and regulation. He was last in putting. So he basically threw his putter into the pond and went with one of these new mallet putters. But, he's the guy to beat. What's he, 3.5 to 1? Next is Rory at 10 to 1. But, it's different when it's a major. I'm sorry. Scottie Scheffler's great. He's not a guy who's done nothing but pile up majors. I think he's the guy to beat, but I'm not locking it in just yet.
All right, let's talk about Rory because this is first off, I love Rory. He's probably my favorite guy on tour that's not named Tiger Woods. Did you watch all of the Full Swing on Netflix?
I did not.
Okay. Well, on there, it's fascinating because, Steve, as you know, Rory became kind of the voice of the PGA Tour for the fans with this whole live thing. And, you know, this documentary kind of goes into the fact that Rory kind of became a weight on his shoulder, that he was the one that everybody kind of – and then the merger happened, and then he got really upset. But also it seems to have kind of lifted a little bit of a weight off of his shoulder in the fact that he now doesn't have to be like the name and the face and the spokesman for the PGA and constantly fighting the whole live thing. That's kind of over now. And he's been playing much better. But then there's also the pressure of you've won them all except that green jacket. And every single year that you don't win that green jacket, that continues to come up. Fascinating storylines around Rory McIlroy. I like him. He's my pick to win. Where are you with Rory right now?
Yeah, it's kind of twofold because, as you mentioned, a year ago it was Rory as the face of the PGA, Monahan, the commissioner, standing in there. Rahm was still a PGA golfer, as he won the Masters, and everybody was standing against the Saudi blood money, and it was like, no, how much? And, all of a sudden, now the focus is back on golf. But to me, the most astounding statistic is McIlroy's been chasing the career slam. This is 10 years. He's 34 now.
Yeah.
His last major was the 2014 PGA, and he does nothing gray at this tournament. He was second to Scheffler in 2022, but he missed the cut last year and in 2021. So hopefully his head is clear. This is his on year because I'm with you. I would celebrate a guy like that winning the career slam.
The other fascinating part of this, getting beyond the obvious geopolitical parts of the live thing, but the kind of the narrative was, well, the live golfers, they're not playing enough. There's no way they're going to come in prepared. They're only playing 3 rounds. They're The money is too good. They don't have the focus and the drive and all that. And then, lo and behold, Steve, last year the Live guys showed up and they kind of came to play, right?
Right.
And Rom won it. He wasn't a Live guy yet, but Brooks finished second. Phil was in the top 5. I think wasn't Patrick Reed in there somewhere, like in the top 5. Like the Live guys showed up to play last year, which is an interesting now kind of factor heading into this year's Masters. Again, you can't tell because the golf rankings are all weird. I think Brooks is always going to be a factor. Koepka is always going to be a factor in major tournaments. Rahm is a returning champion, but he has not played nearly as much golf. It is interesting to see, like, what the Live guys kind of do, because they felt like last year they were on a mission. Now that the whole merger thing is happening, I don't know if that drive is still there. I know we're going to see Phil Mickelson in that stupid High Flyers gear at Augusta, which just makes me cringe. But I think Brooks is a serious contender. I don't know if any of the other Live guys are. Maybe Rahm because he's a defending champion.
Yeah, the interesting thing about Rahm is when he won last year leading up, he won 3 PGA tournaments.
Yeah.
And he didn't even get a chance to defend his title in any of them. So, you know, I'm not saying you throw out the victory because the guy is a mega talent and as good as anybody in the world right now, but the circumstances are just so much more different, which is why I'm not dismissing him, because it's like, okay, so they're playing 54, not 72, but it's not like their whole lives leading up they haven't played in 72-hole tournaments. It's why I'm thinking more people are leaning towards Xander Schauffele or maybe the Duck, Wyndham Clark.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask you. Like, do we count Wyndham Clark as an Oregon guy? Like, he 3 years at Oklahoma State. Like, I had the same conversation about Christian Gonzalez. It's like, do we count him? Like, is he like transfer portal NIL stuff? Boy, that really changed the game. So do we count Wyndham Clark?
So, well, it'd be like, where do you rank Dylan Gabriel among the all-time great Oregon quarterbacks? You know, he's taken 17 snaps in 5 practices. Hey, when people talk about him now, he gets the love of Scotty Van Pelt, and they refer to him because of the success he had, and that's where he was most recently. But, you know, he's also challenging history. I think it was Fuzzy Zeller 35 years ago, the only one to win their debut. But he has been playing out of his mind. You know, he won at Pebble. He had that, oh, my God, lip out that cost him a playoff at the TPC. Plus, he's got that name. Wyndham Clark. Sounds like a snooty hotel. Yes, we only stay at the Wyndham Clark when we visit London.
All right, last bit. Steve Tannen from 95.3 The Score. It's true. He sounds like a stuffy dean that just is ruining the frat party from everybody. It's like, oh, Dean Wyndham Clark is going to come ruin our good time. All right, lastly, before we let you go, and this segment completely goes off the rails. All right, obviously, Scheffler's the favorite. I'm picking Rory. I might also have a little money on Brooks as well. Who do you like? Give me your top 3 not named Scotty Scheffler you like to win.
Well, I'm actually just going with my heart because every time I think, I get everything wrong. So I'm rooting for Rory. I'm rooting for Clark. And Schauffele, who's just – he was one of those guys, remember, when he popped on the scene. Everybody was like, it's just a matter of time till he wins a major. Now he's 30, and you could feel that burden kind of trying to impact him. He was second to Tiger when he won it. He's been top 10 in every event this year, but 2. So I'm going to throw him in there. Seems like a good guy. He's a PGA guy, and hopefully he can break through and maybe add a green jacket to his wardrobe.
There you go. Steve Tannen from 95.3 The Score in Eugene. You can follow him on Twitter at SportsTalk953. You can hear him on 95.3 The Score each and every afternoon from 3 to 6. Hey, Steve, enjoy the Masters. Have a great show this afternoon, and we'll look forward to talking to you again soon.
Always fun catching up with you guys. Be well.
There you go. Steve Tannen, everybody. He's with me, though. Like, not ready to give up on Tiger. Not ready? Brenden, it's still real to me. Tiger can still do it.
I'm not saying it's not.
Yeah, I know. But
I'm not anti-Tiger. I like Tiger.
I know. You're the only one in the room, and I got to yell at somebody. All right, we have got an RCA mailbag to do. Wrap up the big show. Get ready to go home and watch the Masters. I might also be able to get to the gym because Tiger's tea time got moved to 4 o'clock Eastern, so fits my timetable perfectly. Thank you, weather system earlier today. But we wrap up the big show next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right. One more segment on the big show before I head home and sit my rear end on the couch and get ready to watch 4 days of Masters golf. We had another show to do. Got some time. I got some yard work to do as well. But in the whole time, I'll be checking in on the Masters. Pretty pumped that Tiger's not going to be teeing off now until 1 o'clock our time. That is right in the window, baby. Right where I need to be. So I'm excited about that. But before we do that, we got to get to the RCM mailbag. Random questions, any subject, any topic. You know the drill. Let's fire it up.
Yeah, Justin, to that point, today is a day that I'm always thankful for my my awesome proxies in Corvallis, but today's one of the days I really am thankful because, very much like you, I get to watch a little bit of the Masters today instead of I've definitely been down in Corvallis while the Masters has gone on, and I know if you can believe it, after Justin and I have talked about it all week, somehow, some way, Oregon State football continues on despite all the life moves on.
There's other running backs. We're fine.
It keeps going.
There's other running backs. Now, you don't have any money left in your collective because somebody took it and then left.
All the above.
But,
hey, life moves on, right? Still got football
maybe
to
we'll
play.
get some back.
They have a schedule, actually, Justin, so it's possible.
It's going to happen. There will be a game, and
Yeah.
people will be at the stadium. They'll kick it off in September. It's going to happen.
Yeah, they'll figure it out. But, man, it's definitely been an interesting day for a lot of reasons. But let's go ahead and open up the mailbag today, Justin. I'm curious. We talked about the Masters and prices today.
Yes.
If you don't want to answer, that's fine. But what would be
I want a tough question.
What would be a number you would pay for a Masters 4-day pass? It's too personal. That's fine.
Not personal. Not too personal.
We can
I'm
skip.
just thinking right now, is my wife listening?
See, I am not angling to get you in trouble.
4 days?
The full 4-day pass.
Full 4 days.
Yep, you get a 4-day pass, baby. You're hanging out with Roger Goodell and other very famous people.
I would be willing to spend $1,000 a day. And I would be willing to spend $4,000, maybe more than that, on a 4-day pass.
I mean, considering
to the Masters.
I
would be willing to spend $1,000, that's truly once in a lifetime. Because I have had a chance to go to the Super Bowl. Not really interested.
Interesting. Okay.
I've been to the Rose Bowl. I've been to the national title game. I've been to the Final Four. I've been I've been to a U.S. Open up at Chambers Bay, right? I've been to a U.S. Open. I saw, big time golf. But, the Masters is my number one. It is my number one of things I want to see. Other than Braves in the World Series, which they were 2 years ago, but obviously that's tougher to get to in Atlanta. Braves in the World Series. Like I said, I've seen Oregon in the national title game. Seen Oregon in the Final Four. But if team affiliation not involved, yeah, the Masters is my number one. I would.
Considering now, Justin, that again,
I'd spend $1,000 a day.
I mean,
on tickets, and then I haven't bought any merch yet. I'm going to buy a bunch of merch.
Yeah, I mean, considering now that
I get a text message from my wife.
It is not uncommon to spend upwards of $500 to $1,000 on concert tickets. I just look at it that way.
You have done that?
I haven't been to a concert in a hot minute. It's great to work for a company that, gets tickets to concerts from time to time.
Yeah, that's true.
That's one of the awesome perks of working for this company. But, if...
Now that you say that, the amount I've spent on concert tickets, maybe more for the Masters.
Justin's maybe more.
I don't think... 5 figures would probably be too much. Do you know what I mean? 5 figures would be too much. I think somewhere between 5,000 and 9,000, I'd have to sit and think. So how do I do?
So I have an inherent problem with this. I'd love to go to the Masters, but I have a problem, Justin. One day would be fine. I couldn't go 4 days without my phone.
Oh, I could easy.
Being on my person. I couldn't do that. That's just one
I
day.
actually would welcome. It would be so nice because I look for excuses to get this stupid thing out of my life. And to be like, hey, I'm at Augusta all week. Sorry, phone's not here. I'll check in at the end of every day, but Just so everybody knows, phone's not on me till Sunday night. Till you see somebody don a green jacket, that's when I'll maybe return some text message. I would love it. I would love it. You don't think if just forced to, like, you just voluntarily, but like forced to, like, you cannot have your phone. Because I went to a concert last summer where they did the phone thing, right? You kept
And that's fine for a
you
few
kept it,
hours.
but you put it in the sleeve. And at first it was weird because nobody knew what time it was. One person in our section had a watch, and we're like, what time is it? They were king. And then, like, I didn't miss it. Like, I tapped my, I do the tap of my pockets every once in a while. But then ultimately I'm like, nah, don't miss it.
Yeah, it's one of those. See, that's the generational thing between you and I, where it's you didn't grow up with it.
But if it wasn't an option, don't you think you would then at some point just go like, all right, let's just watch this and just be here? I think you would.
Well,
I think you would.
I look at it this way. The only time in recent memory this has ever been close to a thing for me was when I was in Mexico for a week, and everything was on your wrist. That's where you got the food. That's where you got your room key. Everything was on your wrist. So I found that I left my phone in my room quite often. Justin was still like every 3 or 4 hours. I wanted to go check it.
Yeah, to go check it.
I mean, that's just. It's like I said, and then you think I'm bad. Let's go. Let's bring in my our quote unquote associate producer.
Yeah, associate producer.
My brother.
Credit only, no money is involved.
Who's 18, and he's like, how could you forget your phone somewhere? Like, you can't. It's glued to my hand or my pocket. So it's like it's completely. But yeah, that part would be a little tough to get over. So I could do like a day, but 4 days.
Oh, I could do 4 days easy. Well, for the Masters, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Okay.
I would do it in a heartbeat.
Let's get into the mailbag, Justin. When was the last time you were out and were shocked by what you saw somebody either have for a style or a haircut? We were just like, ooh, that's a bold statement. You know what I mean? I have that pretty often.
Yeah, well, and again, I can't answer this without sounding like an old fuddy-duddy, right? Okay. Let's just be a little bit honest here. When you went mullet last year, that was a bit surprising. It's a bold choice.
Might come back.
You're bringing it back? Is this why you asked this question? Is it going to be mullet summer for
but
Brenden?
It might come back. It might come back.
Is it going to be mullet summer? Like,
I kind of missed it after I got rid of it. Now I'm just going long.
When
all the way
you
across.
came in one day and you had a mullet, and I was like, that's shocking. That was, I work with you every day, and it was like, I'm not saying it was bad because again they're having their moment. Your mullet king cut it off and then he got arrested. But I think that I see like college baseball players like they all have mullets now, and it's a whole thing. So
most beavers this year. It's you see a lot of mullets.
I think the kids in the mullets that have come back, but it's not the orig.
No, not the Joe
1987, not the Joe Diffie, mullet where it's truly business up front, party in the rear.
Yeah.
It's got a whole thing.
It's different now.
But it's almost like a big mohawk.
Yes, a little bit.
But the mullets are tough.
So I cut it off because last summer I did the traditional, like, keep the sides completely short and, let it go. Now I have not cut my hair in, I don't know, about 6 months again and just going long all the way across the board. So we're going to see.
All right, well.
We're going to see what the long hair comes out to be.
We'll go on this journey together. That's going to do it for the big show. Thanks to Steve Tannen from 95.3 The Score in Eugene. Thanks to super producer Brenden. Thanks to all of you. Have a terrific Thursday. We'll talk to you bright and early tomorrow morning on a Fancy Coffee Friday, 620 Rip City Radio.